What do we do when God goes quiet? When we pray with everything in us and we get nothing but silence in return? When we beg for answers and heaven feels distant? When the weight of our pain makes us wonder if God even hears us at all? So the last time we talked about Job and how he lost everything, yet he still worshiped. And how his suffering wasn't punishment, but it was proof that his faith was real. But here's the hard truth though. We don't just struggle with suffering, we struggle with silence. Because it's one thing to trust God when life falls apart, but it's another thing to trust him when he's not even speaking to us. So what do we do when the silence feels unbearable? When the waiting feels endless? When we don't just need comfort, but we need clarity? Because real faith isn't tested in the moments we hear God's voice. It's in the moments that we don't. So let's talk about it. And we've all been there, right? That moment when when it just hits you out of nowhere. You know, you've been doing the right things, you've been faithful, but somehow you're still stuck in a season of struggle that won't let up. And deep down you're asking, God, why? Why did I lose my job when I was doing everything right? Why did my marriage fall apart when I was the one that was really holding it all together? Why did my loved one die when I begged you to heal them? Why am I battling something I never saw coming? You see, we don't just want comfort, we want clarity. And we tell ourselves that if I could just understand why, then maybe I could handle it better. But here's the truth about that though. Even if God did explain himself, will it really change how you feel? I mean, if he said you lost that job because I was preparing you for something down the road, would that really ease the stress of unpaid bills? I don't think so. If he said that person left you because they couldn't go where I was taking you, would that really take away the heartbreak? If he whispered, I didn't heal them on this side of eternity because I had a greater plan, would that suddenly remove the weight of grief? And we think we want explanations because we think they'll bring us peace, but deep down they won't, because suffering isn't about understanding, it's about trusting. And that's the hard truth, right? Because deep down we don't just want answers, we want control. We want to brace ourselves, prepare, make sense of what feels senseless, but no explanation can take away the pain of loss, disappointment, or uncertainty. And this is where faith gets real right here. And Job thought he needed an answer, but God gave him something else. You see, Job thought if God would just explain himself, maybe he could accept his suffering. But when God finally responded, he didn't give Job a reason. He gave him a reminder. He gave him a reality check, not to put him down, but to lift up his eyes beyond his pain. You see, God asks, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? In other words, God was like, Job, I see things you don't. I know things you can't. I'm still in control, even when life feels out of control. And let's be real. How often do we find ourselves in Job's shoes? I mean, we know what it's like to struggle financially, watching the bills pile up, stretching every dollar, wondering, God, I've been faithful. Why am I still struggling? We know what it's like to have our hearts shattered, to pray over a relationship, trust that God was in it only to watch it fall apart. We know what it's like to sit by a hospital bed, begging God to move, only to watch things take a turn for the worse. And when heaven is silent, when the miracle doesn't come, when we don't get the answers we crave, that's when doubt creeps in. But we still go to church, we still pray, we still sing the songs, but inside we're wrestling. God, do you even care? Do you even see me? And that's where trust is tested. You see, faith isn't about understanding, it's about surrendering. And God's response to Job wasn't an explanation, but it was a revelation. It was God saying, I am still God. I am still in control. I see things you don't. And maybe that's what we need to hear today. That God is still God, even when life feels unfair. That he's still working, even when we don't see it. That he is still good, even when nothing makes sense. You see, Job never got an answer to his why. But what he did get was something better. A deeper trust in the God who had been in control all along. And maybe that's where real faith is found. Not in getting the answers we crave, but in trusting him, even when we don't understand. So here's my question. Can we trust him, even when he doesn't explain himself? I want you to drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear from you on this one. Have you ever been in a season where you had to trust God without understanding why? Let's talk about it.